Welcome to part 3 of my home energy efficiency rehab. This is Jamie Clark from Aronco, who is the contractor in charge of taking care of the rehab of my house. Well, welcome, Jamie, to the recovering politician.
Well, I think I'm also a recovering politician, just not to your level. So. Well, I'm Jamie Clark with Aronco Comfort Air, and we're the state's largest geothermal provider, and we also are a full-service energy contractor. So we do heating and cooling as well as insulating and air sealing, and we're a big partner in the Kentucky Home Performance Program. And what we're doing today is installing the geothermal system for Jonathan Miller's house. We've got 6 geothermal wells going in the ground. Each one is going down about 150 feet. And we've got our excavator here today, and he's about to tie all those wells together, and then we'll bring it back in the house. So the geothermal system actually heats and cools based off the thermal energy that's coming out of the earth. So we'll have water running down in each of these wells through this 3/4 inch pipe. It goes all the way down, comes all the way back up, and does that 6 separate times. And by the time it comes back to the unit, the water is the same temperature that the earth is, which after you get about 6 feet below ground is 55 degrees. That's why the geothermal is so much more efficient, because you're getting that thermal energy out of the earth as opposed to a conventional heat pump that's pulling air temperature out, which can be anywhere from 5 degrees to 95 degrees.
So isn't geothermal a lot more expensive than regular gas or electricity?
Well, it used to be. The big advantage right now is the federal government is assisting with a 30% tax credit. So 30% of the total cost, the federal government is going to refund back to you in the form of a tax credit. So dollar for dollar, you'll get that back. After you factor in the 30% tax credit, geothermal is only about 10% more expensive than a high-end gas electric system. So most people, if they're about to replace their gas electric, they'll pay for the difference in anywhere from 3 to 5 years. And the geothermal is expected to last twice as long as your conventional gas electric. So once you get past that initial payback period, it's going to make you money for the next.
So we're going to see some video in a second about from a week ago when you all were digging into my lawn. What the heck was going on? Did that have anything to do with Caddyshack and that groundhog?
Well, we didn't find any groundhogs, but we had our drill rig in here, which is the size of about a standard school bus, and you'll see that on the video. We have a 6-inch bore that actually drills the well. We can go as deep as 300 feet. We typically stay around 150. That way we keep out of the water table. But that process, all of this that you see here, this gray matter, that's actually good old Kentucky limestone. That's what came out of the hole as we were drilling it, kind of like drill shavings if you were using a regular drill through a piece of wood. What we've done after we put the pipe in, we backfill that hole and kind of pressurize that limestone, and it's actually been proven by the University of Kentucky that limestone is actually one of the best underground thermal conductors. If you think of a lava rock in your gas grill, it cools off very quickly. Well, the limestone, because it's very porous, it helps to extract the heat that we're pulling out of the house and pull that out of that water, bringing it back to the 55-degree temperature that we want.
All right, so what are we doing today now?
Okay, today, since we've already got all of our loops drilled, all of our pipes in the ground, all of these pipes, and there's 6 separate holes, are going to need to tie together.
These are the black things?
Yes, the black things. That's polyethylene pipe. It's rated for 200 years, so you'll most likely never have to replace that ever again. All of those will tie together in a series, and they're going to tie back into the house and tie into the geothermal units. So the water flow that comes out of the unit, it goes down in one side of that and comes back. And with geothermal by code, none of these pipes can be seamed anywhere deeper than 4 feet below ground. So what we'll do, the trench is going to be dug about 4 to 6 feet, and all the pipes will be seamed together in a series. And we actually do a little bit of a different method. You know, the older method would be to glue those, just like PVC in your home. We actually have a fusion machine. So we have a machine, you take the two pipes and put them together. It heats it to 500 degrees and seals it just like a factory would. So with our process, it's never going to leak.
And is my lawn going to look normal again someday?
Yes, and after we finish digging everything out, we're going to grade it back, and it'll be a little bit humped up because, you know, the ground still needs to settle. After that, you'll be able to seed and straw it, and most families, especially with as rainy it's been this year, 2 to 3 months, you'll barely tell them.
So what's going on right now?
This is actually the trenching, and this is our mini excavator, and he'll be digging a trench between each of the two black pipes you see sticking out of the ground, 4 to 6 feet deep, and then we'll come back in and lay other piping horizontally to tie all of those together.
Okay, we're down here in the basement now, and if folks have been watching the first 2 episodes of this film, they'll see things look dramatically different. Jamie, tell us what we've installed here and why it's both going to save me money and good for the environment.
Okay. Well, we've got 2 geothermal systems, and this is a really good example because this is a packaged unit, so everything is all in one space. This moves the air, this has the compressor, it has any of the auxiliary components that are needed. This particular unit here is the single most efficient heating and cooling device ever tested, this particular size. It's achieving 30 EER, which I know is gobbledygook to most people, but to put that into perspective, the average air conditioner is only about a 6 on the EER. So you're looking at about 5 times the efficiency of the air conditioner most people have in their home. This unit is great because it's multi-stage, so it can run it at high or low, which is going to help it to lower the humidity in the house. This guy here, in the heat of the summer when the humidity is at its highest, will pump out 25 gallons of humidity a day out of your home. It's going to make your home feel more comfortable. It's going to help to dry the air. Most people will see that they'll actually raise their thermostat a couple of degrees because if you can lower the humidity, your perception of temperature changes. So, you know, if you were comfortable at 72 with your old equipment, you might be comfortable with 76 now. The other thing that we do is a little bit unique. Since we are pumping out so much water every day, we tie that to a pump system, and we partner with Bluegrass Pride, and we pump that out into a rain barrel, and that allows our homeowners to water their plants, water their lawn, and that water is distilled water. There's no acid rain, there's no chlorine, there's no chemicals. So someone that's looking to do organic gardening, that's as organic as you're going to get.
Great.
The other unit here, this is a split system. So because your existing equipment was up in the attic for the 2nd floor, this is just the compressing unit, which basically heat and cools the refrigerant, and then it's tied to a system upstairs that distributes the air. Very similar to this, but there's 2 pieces as opposed to this being all in one package. Now this one, we've got something a little bit different. You see these 2 additional pipes here. They're actually tied to your water heater. One of the pipes is pulling the cold water off the top of the water heater. Anytime the air conditioner is running, or the heater, it's running inside the unit helping to keep the motor cool. Well, as it's cooling the motor, it actually heats that water to 120 degrees, and it's going in the bottom of the water tank here, essentially replacing the water heater heating element. So anytime you're using your heating and cooling, you're getting free hot water, and it costs nothing. It actually aids in the efficiency of the equipment.
So this ductwork up here, Jamie, looks different from when we showed it in the last films. Tell us what you've done here.
Okay, well, we've gone through and replaced the ductwork. It was undersized before. You weren't able to get the air volumes that you needed, so we've increased some of the size. But we've also gone through and sealed everything. So the average duct system in Kentucky, according to the University of Kentucky, is leaking 40% or more of the air that you're trying to heat and cool. So you're very inefficient if you're leaking that much air. So all of our systems, we go through and we completely seal them. Ours leak less than 10%, and we actually test that on the back end of every job. Also, we've got canvas here as opposed to straight steel. The canvas acts kind of as a sound absorber. If we just had straight steel, a lot of times you can get additional noise going through the duct system. So we put Kansas on the supply side and the return. This is a humidifier, so we're going to add moisture in the wintertime. The advantage of adding humidity is, just like in the summer, taking humidity away makes the air feel colder. Well, the humidity in our homes get too low in the wintertime, so adding humidity is actually going to make the air feel warmer. So just like in the summer, you might increase your temperature a couple of degrees. In the winter, you might decrease it because with the extra humidity, it's going to feel more comfortable.
We saw in the earlier film there were a bunch of little holes that were leaking energy out into the environment. Tell us about what we're doing with holes like that up above.
Okay, well, the old holes that you had were because you had outdoor air conditioners. With the geothermal, we no longer have those. So the piping, the wiring, everything that's feeding those, we've taken all that out. And you can still see light coming through the hole, but we've sealed that with clear silicone. So that is airtight now, but because the silicone is clear, you're still getting some light through there. We've gone around the perimeter of the foundation here. Any penetration going outside, be it water pipes, electric pipes, or air conditioning piping, all of those have been sealed up. So your basement is considerably tighter than what it used to be. And that's going to help you with heating and cooling as well as comfort, because those air leaks that are coming in there, you're introducing outside dust, dirt, rodents, critters, all that stuff. Tighter we can make it, the more controlled we can make your home, the more comfortable, more efficient you're going to be.
All right, we're now up in the entry to the attic, and from the early films we knew two things. One, that the insulation upstairs in the attic was not doing its job, and number two, this little entryway to the attic was leaking tremendous energy. Tell us what we're doing here.
Well, this is step one of a couple of things. We've got a separate crew coming back later in the week to address the insulation, but Tom here, where we've gone through with the furnace and everything upstairs, they took some of the molding loose. So when we put the molding back, we're going through and sealing it real well, so it's going to all be airtight. So when the next crew gets here to put in some insulation on that attic hatch, it's going to be probably 3 times as tight as it was.
And then what are we doing to the actual attic itself, the insulation up there?
Well, the attic actually was fairly well insulated.
All right, we're up in the attic now, and tell us what we're doing with the insulation here that we focused some attention on in the last film.
Okay, well, you actually have quite a bit of insulation up here, but its value is less than half of what it should be because of the way that it's distributed. Over the years, and your house is close to 20 years old, cable guys have come in here, HVAC guys. Anytime anybody's done any work, they've moved the insulation around for it to, get out of their way, and they don't put it back. The value of insulation is in consistency. I don't care if you have a 2-foot pile of insulation here. If you've got a 6-inch pile here, well, the heat's just going to leak out of the 6-inch section and bypass the 2 feet. So what we're going to do, because there are parts of this attic that have over 20 inches of insulation, but there are parts that only have about 5. We're going to go back through and just redistribute it and make it as nice and even as we can. And ultimately, you're going to come out with almost up to current building standards on a new house. You're probably going to be somewhere in the R30 to R40 range, which the R value on insulation is what's called the heat resistance value. And R40 means it takes 40 times longer for heat to leak out of your home than if you had no insulation at all. Right now, because of the way the house is distributed, you're probably about an R10. So just a simple act of about 45 minutes of fluffing and relaying the insulation up here will give you about 4 times the energy value of this than what you've got right now, without you spending any money.
We knew there was a lot of leakage going through these lights up here. Will you explain what we're going to be doing about those?
Okay, well, as you can see, if you look at the light close, you've got your white trim piece here, which is to make it pretty. But you go up about 3 inches, and you've got about a 3-inch hole that goes straight up into the socket. Well, that socket is ventilated, so it's got just a ton of holes in it. That is allowing heat to rise out of the house because you've got insulation above it, but regular insulation is not an air barrier, so it's still an air leakage. So heat is actually drawing out of these, similar to a chimney in a fireplace. What we're going to do is this white trim piece here, we'll pull that out and replace it, and we're going to go back in with what's called an airtight can. So it's going to completely seal off that air leakage. We've tested these several times, and they're leaking about 60 cubic feet of air per minute during the test. To put that into perspective, your average supply register coming into a bedroom is only moving about 50 cubic feet of air per minute. So you've got 5 right here in this hallway, you're leaking, almost a 25% of your air conditioning capacity out of 5 can lights. So we'll fix those in a couple hours worth of work and not a whole lot of expense.
We have some fancy new thermostats now. Tell us about what the difference is of these.
Well, this is a great thermostat. I like it a lot. Obviously, it's very bright. It's backlit. It's an HD display, but it is a LCD thermostat, so it uses very little power for the display. It also tells you what the outside temperature is, outside humidity, and the humidifier that's installed on the furnace downstairs is controlled from the thermostat. So, where it used to